May the 4th be with you. On May 4th every year, thousands of Star Wars fans do various tributes and events to celebrate their love for a sci-fi franchise that's helped shape how we think when it comes to the fantasy elements that blend in with science. I feel like I need to preface this video by saying that I'm not personally that big of a fan of Star Wars. I know, cue the hate, but whatever. Star Wars has been an influential part of storytelling since the 70s, as it popularized the monomyth style of storytelling for a modern audience. We probably wouldn't be here without it. With that being said, I won't get into any of the deep lore per se, because I really don't want to overextend what I don't know compared to the Star Wars fandom, but I will be talking about lightsabers. When I went into this, it really was just about matching the trio to their iconic colors, red, green, and blue, the same way I did with Huey, Dewey, and Louie. I've got some interesting ones planned out for Star Trek as well as Mass Effect, since those colors are also very important to those series. And yeah, I probably could have given Shane a yellow lightsaber, since it is his favorite color, but actually, I know next to nothing about lightsaber colors or what they're supposed to mean. In order to figure that out, I went over to a few Star Wars fans on YouTube for an explanation. First, I listened to Red 5's explanation of all the lightsaber colors, and this is what I figured out. Green lightsabers seem to represent a strong Jedi that are tuned to a contemplative use of the Force and lead with diplomacy and inquisitiveness. Blue lightsabers are the most common and are usually harvested by Jedi that are more aggressive in their use of the Force. They specialize in combative Force techniques like Force Push and enhancing their fighting prowess. Red lightsabers are reserved for bad guys and are usually made with synthetic kyber crystals, though I suppose there are some regular kyber crystals that can also bleed and become red crystals. I'm not entirely sure how the whole bleeding thing works, although it kind of sounds like what happened to a certain warrior who broke a power stone. Well, from where I can see it, I think the colors kind of work, but I don't know. Hold on a second. Hey Brii, can you help me?
Help you what?
Just come over here, I'll explain.
Okay, I'm here. What's up?
I'm going through a thing right now, and I wanted your help trying to figure out what kind of lightsaber the trio would have.
I don't know anything about Star Wars.
I know, but you know people better than I do, and this is all about personality and stuff like that.
Okay, I guess. Hold on a sec. Oh, hey, this guy, Vader's Fortress, has a lightsaber explanation and a quiz at the end. We could do it that way.
Alright, I'm still gonna go ahead and color them the way they are. It's their colors after all. But it'd be interesting to figure out if that really would be the case.
If you get it wrong, you've got to fix it at the end.
What? But I don't... Oh, fine. I'll go against the whole spirit of the color triad, just to appease the fandom, otherwise they'll do it for me in the comments section.
Okay, let's get this going. We'll pick it up from the quiz.
Okay, you ready? Let's begin. You are a commander in the GIR. After a long and drawn-out battle, the Separatist fleet has surrendered. They claim to have orphan younglings on board. Do you A. use their surrender to your advantage and obliterate their fleet? B. Sell all of their booty for credits on the black market? C. You accept their surrender. Bloodshed and violence must be avoided at all costs. D. You don't accept their surrender. You destroy all the droids and then rescue the younglings and return them to their families. E. You cautiously accept their surrender. However, for good measure, you board their ship to ensure an unconditional surrender. F. You accept their surrender and use the captured CIS technology for future battles. G. You meditate on the Force and allow it to guide you. H. You accept their surrender and use their ships as bargaining tools to get concessions from the CIS.
Alright, so first question.
Okay, slightly off topic, because it struck me immediately because all the space stuff. E was so my mom.
Yeah, I can totally see her having that reaction. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't know, what do you think?
I don't know, like, knowing Martin, See? Except their surrender blood must be avoided at all costs.
Look, he's not super squeaky clean, but he tries really hard to be.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, that's a good high starting number. Then for Shane, I really think he'd probably take the captured technology.
Yeah.
F.
Mm-hmm. Like any variation of anything that just. Anyway, what do you think about Madeline? I kind of think she'd be in that H area.
H. Accepting the surrender and then using the ships as bargaining. That's so much like Shane in ways. But I can see the difference. So.
Well, they are best friends in, like, a lot.
So, alright. Yeah, we've got our answers for those.
And just a reminder, remember to write down the number next to the answer you chose. Question 2. The Clone Wars to the Guard. You are a member of the Jedi Order and have been asked to lead the clones into battle. Do you A. Disavow both the Republic and the Separatists? There's money to be made during times of war. B. You refuse to fight in the war. War only leads to destruction and death. C. You embrace the war. It's time for the Jedi to kick some Sith butts. D. Get on the first ship to Sereno. You believe Count Dooku is right about the Republic and the Jedi. Becoming his apprentice is the best option for you. E. You leave the Jedi Order. Although you hate the Sith, you devote your life to protecting the innocence of the galaxy during this turbulent period. F. You remain in the Jedi Order and aim to help as many civilians as possible. You hate the war, but you believe it's necessary to defeat the Sith. G. You believe it's your duty to defeat the Sith. However, you realize you must not deviate from your Jedi teachings. H. You are conflicted. You believe the Sith are evil and must be defeated, but also realize the corrupting influence of war and the Republic's own failures. I. You refuse to fight in the war. You push for peace and negotiations as soon as possible.
Okay, so what do we think about question 2?
I hate doing this, and it's not about my mother. It's awkward.
Well, get away from the space stuff, talking about the actual space pirate, and let's just try to think of it from the trio's perspective.
C could be Martin when he was young.
I think C definitely fits Martin. H sounds like Madeline to me. What do you think?
Yeah, H is definitely Madeline. I mean, I don't know what her end decision would be in, but definitely the way that that's worded, H is definitely Madeline.
E is going to be Shane.
Yeah, I was reading that too. Yeah, I just got done reading that and I was like, oh wow.
Question 3. You are confronted by none other than Count Dooku himself. What do you do? A. Ask to become his apprentice. B. Use the dark side of the Force to kill him. C. Make a mutually beneficial alliance with him. D. Use the light side of the Force to kill him. E. You fight him, but only if you have to. F. You refuse to fight. Bloodshed is never necessary. G. You try and outwit him. H. You try and negotiate with him. I. You seek the Force for guidance.
Hold up. You know, speaking of Count Dooku, he was played by the late Sir Christopher Lee. I came across a thing that was talking all about the cool stuff he did in life, and wow. Not only was he in Star Wars, he was also Dracula and Saruman in Lord of the Rings, and is the only member of the cast to have met J.R.R. Tolkien personally. He was a member of the Special Forces and corrected the director of one of his movies over what the sound of a man getting stabbed sounded like, quoting, "I don't need to imagine it, I know it." He also almost married the Princess of Sweden, and he was in a metal band in his 90s. He was directly descended from Charlemagne and was in France to witness the last ever execution by guillotine. But so here's another layer to that. So he's Count Dooku, right? Well, the last guillotine execution in France happened the same year that Star Wars A New Hope was in theaters. So you could say, with certainty, that while the Empire used the Death Star to blow up Alderaan, Count Dooku was on Earth watching an execution. Absolutely wild stuff. Between this guy and Ernest Hemingway, I wonder who would win.
Anyway, question?
Looking over these answers... Well, we know that Dooku is a villain. But that being said...
Wow, the first three answers are like all villain answers. Those are all villain arc answers. Ah! Reminds me of... Anyway, yeah.
So, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Martin would use the light side of the Force to try and kill Dooku.
E sounds like Madeline. You fight him, but only if you have to.
G is definitely Shane. They really do kind of go in a line like that.
They were always like that. Madeline was a girl. Martin was boy. And Shane was mischief.
Oh yes, the three genders, boy, girl, and mischief.
Wow. Madeline's starting to get, like, strides further in points towards the whole light side of the Force compared to Martin. I did not see that coming.
I think it's fairly interesting since, he does have the red lightsaber. His points, after only 3 questions, he's at 15, Shane's at 16, and Madeline's at 19, which means Martin is closest to the dark side after only 3 questions. Let's keep going.
Question 4. Your mother has been captured by the Sand People on Tatooine. What do? A. Kill all of their warriors, but you leave the women and children. B. Slaughter their whole tribe like animals. C. You use the full extent of the Force to save your mother. You use both the dark and the light side to kill anyone in your path. D. You try everything to avoid bloodshed. E. You use light side Force abilities to kill any armed Tusken Raider. F. You ask the Force for guidance. G. You try and outwit the Tuskens, avoiding casualties if you can. H. You negotiate with the Tuskens.
Uh-oh, so this one's directly asking questions about mothers. You want to throw your mom in with this one too now?
No.
It's bad for me. I know myself would probably pick C in this instance.
Yeah. And tell me a situation where Madeline wouldn't.
Wouldn't what?
Use the full extent of the Force to save your mother and use both the dark and light side to kill anyone in your path.
Okay, so that's obviously a 3 for Madeline this time.
It's just it throws me off because she's been so ahead and now she's gonna get dragged down fast. I'm like, wow, how this reminds me of actually watching one of those movies.
Hey, you want to know something real quick? Martin's an A. Kill all the warriors but leave the women and children.
Yeah.
And yeah, Shane's gonna try and outwit them and avoid casualties.
That's part of that whole mischief thing. He's more... Okay, so the world is so weird about gender. Some people, gender really is a very strong part of their overarching personality. Okay? That's okay. It's probably whoever they are, maybe you have a really girly girl and she's really girly girl. Okay, that's okay. Or you have a tomboyish girl. Same stuff, same thing for both, the more mask side. But, he doesn't It doesn't matter. It's never mattered with it's never mattered with him what gender he was. It's never wow. I don't know that. Give me a moment. Because it's never mattered.
Shane has always been more invested in his gender than Martin. What are you talking about?
That's not what I meant. I'm more so about the, because, Wow. So Shane just keeps climbing that ladder, and Martin just keeps falling down that ladder.
A lot of Shane's answers have been really balanced so far, honestly.
He keeps kind of, yeah, like trying to play badminton.
Okay.
Question 5. A pirate offers you a crate of spice in exchange for your lightsaber. What do? A. You force him into an alliance and take over his spice operations. B. Kill him for dishonoring you. C. Kill him and all involved in this exploitative operation. D. You arrest him. You kill him only if he starts attacking you. E. You arrest him. You only kill him if he threatens innocent people. F. You walk away from the situation. The spice trade is immoral, but violence is just as bad. G. You try and outsmart the pirate. H. You try and negotiate with him to get a better deal. I. You use the force to try and mind trick the pirate.
Well, question 5. I feel like there might be some context I'm missing with this question, because, does that mean just a spice like cardamom or something? Or is it an underhanded way of
saying
I was going to say more illicit things so that we can keep monetization?
Beep it.
Yeah. I looked at Wikipedia real quick, and yep, definitely talking about illicit substances here. So that puts in a little bit more context for what we're talking about. An illicit substance that specifically raises creativity. Gosh,
wow. Yeah, but the problem is the fact that I'm trying to figure, because I've done a little bit of time actually working a little around Madeline. It's so weird calling her that. It changes the answer I would think for her completely, and it gets darker after knowing that that's what it is, because it was a lot lighter of an answer when I just thought it was like spices.
Okay, well, yeah, context is important in this case. I think it's going to be a solid, E for Martin? You arrest him and only kill him if he threatens innocent people.
Yeah, the problem for me is I'm literally looking between D and E, because if either of those, if A or B, then C. I guess give her the benefit of the doubt and give her E then.
Okay, so they both got the same answer. All of
the Shane maybe all of the Shane maybe answers are like so many points higher. Starts with 1 point more and keeps going up from there.
I'm just going to go with, in generally, trying to outsmart the pirate. I think that's probably,
it encompasses some of those other answers.
Yeah, I definitely... He would stop at nothing to try and get away from this, even if it meant using, the force mind trick. So, I can go ahead and give him that.
It's almost like we just figure he starts off just trying to outsmart him. Then when he figures out he can't do that, he tries to negotiate. After that, he's like, okay, fine, forget it. I'm just gonna force my way out.
Right, exactly.
How did Shane get closer to the Force? He's the closest to the Force up there right now.
It's all the Force. He's just closest to the light side of the Force.
Whatever. It's Star Wars stuff. Look, the point of the matter is he's the more heroistic one in that galaxy. My brain is having issues, and it's actually starting to hurt in weird ways.
Question 6. The Empire has just unveiled its new Death Star and has destroyed Alderaan. Do you A. Join the Empire? This show of might is awe-inspiring. B. You use any means necessary to destroy the Death Star, even if this involves the death of civilians. C. You become a bounty hunter for the Empire. They clearly have a lot of credits. D. You work with the rebels but refuse to join them. You work independently to try and destroy the station. E. You go and live on an outer rim world and avoid all war. F. You use your knowledge of droids to implant a virus into the Death Star data core. G. You become a Jedi and join the Rebel Alliance. You lead an attack on the Death Star but do not agree with violence against civilians. H. You try and turn Darth Vader back to the light side. I. You try and negotiate with the Empire.
Okay, again, so with context being important here, we have to realize that this means that you've basically just watched your adversaries in war just wipe an entire planet off the face of the galaxy. You know, I don't see Shane having the gumption to want to try and stand against something like that.
Not when we hear about how he was when he was young, when they were young. Why he even went with things that happened back then, the way he did. He never really wanted to be a hero.
Or much of a warrior, for that matter. I really do kind of think he'd just go and live on an outrim world and try to avoid the war.
Yeah. Yeah, which is funny, because that starts reminding me a lot of Luke as he grew older.
Yeah, but then I think looking at some of these more obvious, like, Luke-inspired questions of, like, G becoming a Jedi to join the Rebel Alliance, like, that's basically the plot of the first film, or the first 3 films. No, first film. But also, that's definitely Martin's answer.
Yeah, that's definitely a Martin answer. The hard one to swallow is that B would be Madeline's answer.
All right. Interesting.
How she works. It's some simple issues like that was an entire planet. If some civilians die here and there, they would hopefully be happy that they were able to die for the purposes of all these other planets full of people also being able to continue on living. You know, that kind of all for one for all ideology.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's total it up.
Question 7. You see Mace Windu locked in a battle with Palpatine. What do you do? A. Help whoever is willing to pay you the highest amount of credits. B. Force choke Palpatine. C. You join Windu. You kill Palpatine using the full force of the light side. D. Kill Mace Windu. You need the Sith alive so he can teach you the ways of the dark side. E. You use your brains to outsmart Palpatine. F. You walk away. You will not be responsible for any deaths today. G. You meditate on the Force. H. You join Windu. However, you would rather not kill Palpatine. I. You try and negotiate with both Windu and Palpatine.
Wow, okay, so this one's about, like, the basically the BBEG of Star Wars. Emperor Palpatine. And I know Mace Windu, I mean, he was a good guy, but he wasn't a good guy. Kind of gray.
He was good guy, but he was not good guy.
So...
C is Madeline. Final answer.
C is Madeline?
Yeah. Windu's good enough in comparison to Palpatine for her, I would think. I can only speak on my opinion.
Yeah, I think that would be Martin's attitude toward it, too. I think Shane would want to try and outsmart Palpatine. I don't think he would give himself the credit to be able to do it.
I think he'd be too scared to try. I mean, maybe even, like, try to poke with a comment if he was actually, like, confronted and had to say something to him. He might poke at it, and when Palpatine gave a very not good reaction,
Yeah. I think he would join Windu, but try not to actually kill Palpatine. Maybe arrest him, or knock him out, and let the Jedi Council figure it out from there.
That completely sounds like him. It's almost like when he was young. Even as he was getting into teenhood, something bad happened, let's beat him up, tie him up, take him to Dad.
Yeah.
And that's only because he had Martin right there to help.
Well, there we go for that one.
What is your favourite force power? A. Force lightning. B. Shatterpoint, the ability to use weaknesses within an object to destroy it and opponents. C. Force choke. D. Increased athleticism. E. Force powered technology. F. Force empathy. You can use this to experience and understand others' emotions. G. Force ghost. H. Flow walking, the ability to see the past and the future. I. Jedi mind trick.
Oh, force powers. I do like a lot of the force powers. I think if I was picking it for me, I'll say that for later. Well, let's look at this.
Here?
I don't have any force fire. They have force lightning, but...
Well, if you take into account Avatar, The Last Airbender, I mean, lightning kind of, then, like, that's not how it really works, because lightning is a nature thing.
Are you trying to compare me to Azula?
Maybe. She was awesome.
And Psycho? Look, anyway, so, let's see.
I think... that's hard.
I think Madeline's got to be the force empathy, honestly speaking.
Yeah.
She's so good at getting into people's heads.
That's definitely accurate. I was actually having issues same there thinking about Shane, because I see two of them that he'd at least would glance at if he could choose.
Knowing what I know, I think he probably picked the flow walking.
I can't argue with that. It doesn't work right if I argue with that.
As for Martin, either the increased athleticism or the force-powered technology. Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking it would end up being either via athleticism or Shatterpoint.
No, you know what? That's the thing, because honestly speaking, Martin doesn't really seem like to use abilities that increase his athleticism superficially. He really likes relying on his own power for a lot of those things.
And he's not into technology. He
Oh,
never is.
yeah, he is.
Really?
Yeah, he is.
I don't get to know. I don't get to know you. I don't get to know Marty that well.
Yeah, exactly. So trust me on this one, and it's going to be force technology.
Okay. I have no opinion.
And finally, we have our last question. Which lightsaber fighting form is your favourite? A. Juyo, the most aggressive lightsaber form. B. Vapad, a lightsaber form that uses an opponent's dark energies to your advantage. C. Makashi, a lightsaber form optimized for precision. D. Taru, the most acrobatic fighting form. E. Sorisu, the most defensive lightsaber form. F. Shicho, the most basic and ancient of all the lightsaber forms. G. Demso, the lightsaber form that perfectly balances defense with offense. H. Nimble, the perfect blend of all the other lightsaber forms.
This is the last question, and they're all so even. I really don't think that I think they're going to wind up all with the same exact color.
Forgive me, but that checks. They're so like that.
It's so boring!
No.
Well, I'm not going to fudge anything for a different, more interesting outcome here. I think that...
I mean, if we did this again for somebody like Torben, it would be different.
I think that Martin's probably... He's so all around when it comes to athletics. I really see him going for the perfect blend.
Yeah. I see that too. And honestly, if you're talking about physical stuff, I mean, the really ancient one is the one that Madeline's probably going to go for, because she goes, it's classic. It's tried and true. That's kind of how she works.
That makes sense. Shane's either acrobatic, defensive, or is going to use his opponent's strength to his advantage, I'm probably going to have to go with acrobats here.
So I was thinking that, but like he's not even physical like that either. So I don't know. You know him better than I do.
He was always the best climber apparently, so we're going to go with acrobats.
Makes sense.
Okay, final score. We have Shane with 51, Martin with 44, and Madeline with 49. I think I still get bonus points for saying that, at the very least, if red is like the worst color, Martin is the one that's closest to the dark side here still. So I did something right. But let's see the results.
You do a really great job, Agni. Don't depreciate yourself.
All you have to do now is add up all of your scores. Okay, you done that? Alright, now for the results. If you scored between 9 and 14, the lightsaber colour that suits you best is likely red. You're in it for yourself and are not afraid to hurt others if they get in your way. If you got between 15 and 17, pink likely suits you best. You're pretty engrossed in the dark side, but there is a hint of light within you. If you score between 18 and 26, black is the lightsaber colour for you. You're in it for yourself, but you still have some honour. You're entrepreneurial and will let others get between you and more credits. If you got a score between 27 and 35, purple suits you best. You're a good guy at heart, but you struggle with darker emotions. If you score between 36 and 42, you are a Jedi Guardian and wield a blue lightsaber. You will use violence, but only in the service of a greater good. If you score between 43 and 44...
So...
There are some differentiations here.
Yeah, alright. So let's see here. Martin, 44... oh hey, here we go.
Congratulations. You are one of the very few who can utilize a turquoise or cyan saber. You still use violence if necessary, but you are guided by the wisdom of the Force more than most Jedi Guardians.
Okay, so he actually gets a kind of rare color. Turquoise and cyan. So where do we go from there, though?
If you scored between 45 and 53, white likely suits you best. You are still kind-hearted and have a burning desire to fight for justice. However, you also believe in freedom and are not easily swayed by the dogma of the Jedi Order. If you got between 53 and 62, yellow is your lightsaber colour. You will use violence to fight if required, but the thirst for knowledge is more important to you. You outwit your enemies by learning about all aspects of life, from the Force to advanced technology. If your total score is between 64 and 71, then green is your colour. You are wise and understand that the Force always knows best. If you scored between 72 and 76, orange is your colour. You strive for diplomacy and negotiation in all conflict. Peace is always your objective. If you score between 77 and 78, you are one of the few Force wielders to use a brown lightsaber. You always turn the other cheek, no matter what. You love peace and nature. War is never an option. Alright everyone, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the quiz and learned something about lightsaber color.
49 for Madeline. White. Yeah, that seems to make sense. Well, Shane was 51 and white. Two white swords and a light blue sword. Oh boy.
What'd you expect out of 3 heroes?
What I expected of 3 regular people who are just kind of raised in the way that they are. 3 perfectly balanced characters that all feed off of each other in a sort of trifecta. Well, gosh, that is so
anticlimactic.
Anticlimactic, yeah. I'm Well, there it is. Lightsaber colors. God, I can't wait to do Mass Effect.
We can do it later.
We have to wait for at least November 7th for Mass Effect.
That gives us time to plan.
Yeah, Alright. Well, we're going to go back to the rest of the video now. Thanks for tuning into the lightsaber quiz. Maybe we'll go ahead and put it as a doc on the video description, so if you want to score it for yourself, or going over to Vader's Fortress 2 and check out their video, and also the different descriptions of all the 14 lightsaber colors.
It was actually kind of cool.
Oh yeah, I loved the quiz. I just
don't care about Star Wars a lot.
No, it's just I don't like that it was such an anticlimactic ending for our characters. The colors and stuff, they're cool. I like that aspect. Anyway. Gosh, I kind of struggled with what to talk about, especially with such a long video. We did the quiz, but that only lasted a little while, so I went in and looked up some more little-known Star Wars facts, and here's what I found. 1. Yoda was almost played by a monkey. That's right, Yoda, who made his Star Wars debut in Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, was almost played by a monkey wearing a mask, according to Reader's Digest Asia. Crew members realized early on that the monkey wasn't the right actor to play Yoda. A Star Wars crew member even said, "Look, the monkey is just going to pull the mask off over and over again. It's never going to work." Eventually, the part of Yoda was replaced by a puppet, and the Yoda puppet was built by British makeup artist Stuart Freeborn and voiced by the Muppets veteran Frank Oz. Man, I just want to say, puppetry is an art form that I hope never dies. The art of puppetry originated nearly 4,000 years ago. Some historians claim that they even predate actors in theaters. Coming to the next one is, the opening text crawl took hours to film. The famous Star Wars opening crawl took hours to complete, reports Reader's Digest Asia. To bring the effect to life in A New Hope, filmmakers placed large yellow letters on black paper as the camera made a slow pass over the text to mimic the floating text crawl. Apparently, it took 3 hours to complete. I think that makes sense. Look, I may have some advanced technology compared to what they were using in the 1970s. However, my utter lack of knowledge in video editing really makes these projects take a long time. This one took me 8 hours just to do the coloring. That's where the recording is up to almost an hour. Number 3 is that lightsabers were wrapped in reflective tape. So George Lucas needed a weapon fit for a Jedi who were meant to bring peace to the galaxy. The lightsaber. So Lucas described the evolution of the lightsaber in a Star Wars featurette, The Birth of the Lightsaber, which was in the bonus material of the 2004 DVD release of the Star Wars original trilogy. Quote, the original lightsaber was actually the flash attachment to a 4x5 camera, and we just took the round flash part off and turned it into a lightsaber, he said. But as Luke Skywalker's saber skills improved, the lightsaber battles got faster and more intense, and the lightsaber props evolved. For a time, actors held rotating poles with reflective tape on them to create the flash of the saber and shine light on the actors, but it never worked very well. As special effects advanced, actors simply held swords, and the lightsaber look was added later. Lucas also said that every laser sword is part real and part animated. We need a real pole to tell us where the sword blade is. I gotta love how creative these guys were with the special effects. Sure, it looks dated and some of the strings are obvious, but it set a standard for how movies are made today. I mean, check out how they made the movie Alien sometime. Coincidentally, both movies had the exact same budget. Number 4, Jabba the Hutt was operated by multiple people. The Tatooine gangster was operated by a whole team of actors. The puppet fit 3 men inside, 2 to operate the arms, the head, and the tongue, and another to move the tail. A man lying below the puppet pulled strings to move Jabba's mouth and make his sides heave, and 2 radio operators controlled the gangster slug's eyes, including the pupil dilation, direction, and wideness of the eyelids. A final crew member was responsible for rubbing gel on the puppet to give Jabba his slimy look. Ew. Imagine being the guy who has to lube up Jabba the Hutt every day? No, thank you. So number 5 is, using mirrors, Luke's land speeder appeared to be floating. Luke's X-34 land speeder in A New Hope looks like it's hovering above the ground. This effect was achieved using mirrors. The speeder was actually a vehicle with wheels, but the clever placement of mirrors on the bottom edges of the vehicle hid the wheels so the speeder appeared to be floating. I wonder why they called this thing a land speeder when it's obviously just some kind of hovercraft. Well, okay, so the first hovercraft was invented and patented by a British engineer named Christopher Sidney Cockerell in 1955. They're now used through the world as specialized transports in disaster relief, Coast Guard, military, and survey applications, as well as for sport or passenger service. Very large versions have been used to transport hundreds of people and vehicles across the English Channel, while others have military applications used to transport tanks, soldiers, and large equipment into hostile environments and terrain. Decline in public demand meant that as of 2023, the only year-round public hovercraft service in the world still in operation serves between the Isle of Wight and the South Sea in the UK. The name hovercraft itself was a trademark owned by Saunders and Rowe, later the British Hovercraft Corporation, then Westland. Hence other manufacturers' use of alternative names to describe their vehicles, like Landspeeder. Number 6. Mark Hamill's car accident may have impacted the Empire Strikes Back script. Ooh. In January of 1977, Mark Hamill, who played Luke Skywalker, was involved in a car accident in which he fractured his nose and left cheekbone, reports Business Insider. He had to have cartilage taken from his ear to rebuild his nose, giving his face a slightly different look. You want to know how he got those scars? This is how. During the opening scene of Empire Strikes Back, Luke is mauled by a wampa, which damages his face. Now, George Lucas claims that the scene was not added to explain Mark Hamill's appearance, but that it did help. Carrie Fisher, who played Princess Leia, on the other hand, remembers things differently. She said, "I was still shooting Star Wars when Mark got into the car accident. It was a really bad accident. Miraculously, his teeth didn't shatter, but his nose did. He had to have some of his ear put into his nose. So they adjusted the film with a snow monster to right away in the movie the scratch on his face to account for his looks being different." While I'd like to believe George Lucas on this one since he is the writer, I'm extremely cautious since Hollywood's attitude with women has never been great and still persists to be problematic for many involved. I guess things are improving, but we still have a long way to go. It's thought that the pressure to remain fit for her role as Leia may have contributed to Carrie Fisher's health concerns and heart attack, but it should also be known that she suffered from addiction, sleep apnea, as well as bipolar disorder at this time. Number 7. Vader is played by 4 different actors. Wow, I knew about the voice and the body, but So the original Star Wars trilogy used 4 different actors to fulfill the vision of Darth Vader. His iconic voice comes from James Earl Jones. Yeah, I knew that. But the on-screen Vader is portrayed by a 6'5" bodybuilder named David Prowse, who passed away in 2020. Prowse's stunt double is pro fencer Bob Anderson, and when Vader is unmasked in Return of the Jedi, he's played by Sebastian Shaw. To try and prevent spoilers from ruining the movie, James Earl Jones was the only Vader actor who knew Darth Vader told Luke he was his father. The line read by Shaw during the film was, "Obi-Wan killed your father," and the real line was later dubbed by Jones. I wonder if Mark Hamill's shock during that scene was genuine. That means Luke actually didn't know. I hear some of you guys probably didn't know. Did you know that James Earl Jones only made $7,000 for the role of Vader? No, seriously, one of the biggest bad guys in sci-fi, and the voice gig was only $7,000? I guess he was a good sport about it. He wasn't even mad. In an interview with AFI, he said, "George wanted, pardon the expression, a dark voice." Exact quote. So he hires a guy born in Mississippi, raised in Michigan, who stutters, and that's the voice. That's me. So actually, he was geeked about the 4 figures. And he said, "I lucked out. For all these so-called handicaps for a job to pay $7,000, I thought that was good money, and I got to be a voice in the movie." Talk about looking on the bright side. Number 8 is matte painted backdrops. Many of the famous scenes from Star Wars were actually matte paintings. 70 matte paintings were done for Empire Strikes Back per the Star Wars website. Some paintings were done to fill an existing shot and others done to give a look into the Star Wars galaxy. Or, in one case, extra stormtroopers were created through paintings. Most notably, the Battle of Hoth's scene in Empire Strikes Back was achieved with matte paintings. Okay, for those who don't know what this all means, is a matte painting is a painted representation of a landscape, set, or distant location that allows filmmakers to create an illusion of an environment that is not present at the filming location. And no duh, like the vacuum of space. Traditionally, matte paintings were made by artists using paints or pastels on large sheets of glass for integrating with the live-action footage. Matte painters and film technicians have used various techniques to combine matte painted image with live-action footage, called compositing. In the scenes, the painting part is static while the movements are integrated onto it. Raiders of the Lost Ark is another movie that uses this similarly. Number 9. R2-D2 is played by an actor in costume. Oh, I love this. So Kenny Baker, who was 3'8", played R2-D2 in 6 Star Wars films, including the original trilogy. But Baker almost didn't take the role, according to the New York Times. He said, "This film came along and I turned it down. I said, I don't want to be stuck in a robot, what for goodness sake?" Ultimately, he took the part, which had no lines, and Baker did not make the beeping noises that came from R2-D2. That was done by Ben Burt, the sound designer for the film. Baker claims the role changed his life, and if he went back in time, he would do it again, even without pay. I mean, it really goes to show how influential these roles were for a lot of people. It made their careers. Although, I know that Alec Guinness, who played Obi-Wan, not only didn't take the role seriously, he actually straight up didn't like the film from the get-go. Well, next time someone asks if I know anyone who's like Star Wars, I can hit him with this. Well, I mean, that's not entirely true. Alright, here's a secret. My favorite Star Wars film is Rogue One. Number 10. Many scenes were achieved with models. Models for the Star Wars movies were designed and built by a Hollywood special effects house, according to a Star Wars video called Star Wars Visual Effects from AT-ATs to Tauntauns. It took 2 years and $3.5 million to do the Star Wars miniature and optical effects. The models were filmed against a blue screen, so other backgrounds and images can be added later. Even miniature explosions were created and caught on camera. Movement was often created using stop-motion photography or other camera techniques. By controlling the motion of the camera and remembering those motions, the computer allows for more complex and visually dynamic photography. They really blended in a lot of different art forms to bring this whole universe to life, and if I'm honest, that's one aspect of Star Wars that I can really love. Some of the fans, not so much. You guys gotta chill. But the art, the sound, the lightsabers, yeah. Those parts are definitely cool. Speaking of art, this week's piece was provided by Neck on Fiverr. I'm not really sure if it said like Neck or NEC or NES. Anyway, the link to their business is down in the description. I highly suggest that you check them out. And if you're not into Star Wars, they also do Star Trek art. No, wait, before we go, there was one other thing I almost forgot to mention. A super secret bonus Star Wars fact that almost no one knows. Okay, a lot of people probably know it if I do. Emperor Palpatine was played by a woman. Yes, that's right. While Anne McDermott provided Palpatine's lines, the creepy old guy under the hood was actually played by Marjorie Eaton, with chimpanzee eyes added later to enhance the creepy effect. She was actually one of 2 actresses that shot the scene, with the other being Elaine Baker, who primarily provided the test shots. Art for this channel wouldn't even be possible, however, without the help of our patrons. Monetization on YouTube is not enough to keep us going, so please follow the Patreon link down in the description to help Tales of Atonement keep going long term. We have a lot left to do and a big story to tell, and we simply can't do it without your help. Besides, there's a ton of extras only available on Patreon that won't be available for months on YouTube, if ever. Some of our great patrons include Pammy Poo, Shadow Fox, Arya Gamari, Charles Tam, Jace Moreland, and Lunder Lumen. Thank you all for watching and supporting our story.